Have you ever been thinking of trying Widowmaker? If you haven't, then this video might not be for you. But for any other player who wants to try her, or even hear what I've realized over the years of playing Widowmaker, this might be an enjoyable video for you to watch. For some of you might already know that I'm a big Widowmaker fan, and there's a lot of things to understand to be able to play Widowmaker well. And even today, I am learning new things that makes me even better. So let me just give you a heads up that I'm not the best Widowmaker out there, but I am doing pretty well for myself. So just take my realization with a grain of salt, but I'm hoping this can help you in one way or another. There's a few things that is very important to keep in mind, and I want to tell you about them. We all have been playing many different maps over hundreds of times, and some of you new players might not have done so. But even if we all have been able to play on these maps over and over again, you would probably still be surprised with how much you could affect the different team fights by choosing where to stand in the game. Very often people play the map but haven't really explored the map enough to see where you can get the picks from off angles. This is a very powerful tool to get easy picks before the team fight even starts and so on. And this applies especially for Widowmakers because she has the one-shot capability. And if your map knowledge is good enough, you will start learning where all the health packs are, and this is something that I'm still trying to memorize time to time after a long break. Yeah. Imagine we're talking about the health pack. Who would have believed that? We all have been using them in all ranks, and yet one thing of many that differentiate a low-ranked player versus a high-ranked player is how we utilize the health packs. And for a Widowmaker main, health packs could be your best friend. Let me give you an example. How many times have you died against a Sombra, Tracer, or even a Genji sneaking up on you? You probably get what I'm trying to say here. Your survivability is probably extremely low, if not zero once they get close to you. But by learning the maps, you will also learn where every health pack is. And for Widowmaker, this is pretty vital if you're struggling with Tracer or especially Sombra in this case. So if you position yourself relatively close to a health pack, your survivability is increased against a Sombra or Tracer by plenty of percents. It's not maybe amazingly much, but it's way more than if you didn't have it. And even if you don't win the 1v1, this would definitely give your supports time to react and help you out. And yes, I do understand that this won't help you every time, but the thumb of rule is if it increases your survivability, the better. And now we're gonna get into one of the hardest things for Widowmaker to adapt, and that is positioning. And holding angles doesn't necessarily mean good position. A good position could involve by learning the map layouts, learn where all the health packs is spawned, and place yourself where you could be out of reach, when this is applicable of course. Move depending on where your team is and where you are. And this is probably one of the biggest issues Widowmaker has today, and that is just understanding what is a good position for a Widowmaker. And this is something I'm still working on myself and trying to adapt. So stay further back from where your team is. Your team is your reference where you should be, so don't stay too close to your team. There are of course exceptions, but make sure to stay further back and find a better off angles with the best view from where the enemy team is. Let me give you an example. Let's take Route 66 for an example. Your team is standing here, and the enemy team has been able to push this payload up to this point. Where should you stand/be at in this situation? If you said here, then you are absolutely correct. One of the reasons is because your team is further away from where you are, and which kind of makes you in a safer position. And at the same time, if you need to grapple close to your supports, it's not impossible. And your view of the objective and the enemies is much wider here. But be careful, the second you realize the enemy might see you and they might get close to you or start turning to you, back off by using your grapple if needed to distance yourself from them and repick from a different position. This way, your pressure is still on the map, even if you don't shoot. And all the enemies still need to think one extra time before they take a step or peek around the corner. So just remember, even if you don't get picks, your pressure is immense and you're denying space. So, as a Widowmaker, what is your job in a team fight? Your job as a Widowmaker is to make sure that they are in a disadvantage before the fight even starts. And that is by getting a pick or forcing them to be pushed back with a lower health and so on. And this is where probably most Widowmaker fails, kills, and that is during the team fight, including me sometimes. I have noticed in mid/low ranked players that most Widowmaker players has a tendency to get way too close to your team during the fight. So as long as you haven't already won the fight, you should not get too close when the team fight appears. Because if you are, you're just gonna get focused on and get killed. Your job is to stay further back in the backline and get picks from your max range during the fight. And if your team lose, back off and reset. If you die when the fight is lost, it's most likely because you decided to head back way too late or was too close to the enemy/team, or close enough to get picked by the enemy team. I've been trying to have a thumb of rule here that if I notice that my tank has died and we have no way to actually compensate or trade for that, I head back instantly. There's no way for me to stay there because they're gonna push up when the tank is dead. So by learning all the things I've told you, one concept that will help you with all these things is to have this in your mind of all time, and that is to stay alive. Just don't blame your supports for not getting help when you are way too close to the enemy team, you are not aware of where the enemy could be. It's on you. Just think of what you could have done differently, and that will help you in the long run. Staying alive is way better than just getting a kill and die afterwards. Don't force yourself trying to get close to the enemy team to then just die. Find a better position first. This will make you more consistent over time, and this trick works in a lot of ranks. Although keep this in mind, the higher the ranks, the faster you need to decide on what to do. And that is often how you die, deciding way too late or too rash decision that causes deaths. Notice that I never mentioned aim during this video. Well, don't get me wrong, being good at aiming and positioning would probably make you even better. But most people don't climb because they don't understand this fundamentality. And that is what I realized during my time in Overwatch. But yes, aiming is important to be able to learn how to track and micro adjust with your aim. That is a fundamental thing with Widowmaker because she is an aim character with the one-shot capability, and you want to utilize that as much as possible. And thanks for the hitbox buff, being an average aimer would make it even easier for you to hit your target's head. Hitting head with Widowmaker has never been easier. Anyways, I hope you guys do enjoy this video and maybe found this somewhat useful if you ever want to dive in to play Widowmaker. Once again, I am not the greatest Widowmaker player, and I'm still working on some of these things that I mentioned. The poor habits, I guess. But if you ever want to catch me on stream or just chat, join my Discord or follow me on Twitch, or both, maybe. You decide. I'd appreciate a like and even a subscribe. Share it with someone who wants to try Widowmaker. I mean, top 500 Widowmaker would probably not find this video useful at all. I'm doing my best here, okay? Don't be too harsh on me. Oh yeah, by the way, if you guys want to see my updated settings on Widowmaker, here's what I'm having today. I've changed it from 40 to 33 on the zoom scope accuracy. This is because I've changed my playstyle to be more safe, and I think it's a better choice to do if you want to play more passive. And I want to get better on Widowmaker, so I'm just testing around a little bit.